Welcome. It's 1997, dude. What are you up to, man? What's up? You guys see that new Adam Sandler movie? He's so played out and overrated. I'm going to the dance club in Nashville. This is 1997. I'm a senior. I got a car. I can do what I want. Yeah. Yo, I heard they're going to be playing the sweetest dance mix at the Music City Mix Factory in Nashville. 4 stories of dancing pleasure. 1 floor country, 1 floor hip-hop, 1 floor EDM, 1 floor Hootie and the Blowfish all night long, 1 floor country. I'm wearing what I would have worn at that time, except I didn't have glasses. It's a 90s retrospective. Yes, I would have had a Kangol hat. Yes, I would have had a Depeche Mode shirt, and I still have it. It's not a high school shirt. So, everyone is wondering on this channel, where were you in the 90s? What would you have been like if we knew you in the 90s? Bro, you would have found me in the back of the class. Because you had to take your hat, Kangol hat off. Take that hat off, son. Can't have that in school. You would have found me in the back of the class like this. Well, no glasses, right? You would have found me in the back of the class with my Tolkiens like this. And I would have had long hair even then, yes. So we're gonna have fun tonight. We're gonna see what was it like in the 1990s for you. I'm gonna give you my experience because I polled a bunch of these kids out here. And a bunch of these kids did not have the John Hughes high school experience, even though that's 80s. I feel like kids are being robbed. And so I want to know what it's like now. I polled the kids and they said, you know what, there's not really cliques like there used to be. Maybe in small towns. So I went to high school in a small town. So it might have been, it's probably different. There's probably some semblance of normal high school, what I'm calling normal, which is actually and factually normal, studies show, versus like if you're in some horrible big city or something, there's probably no normalcy left, right, to high school. And I want to know what your experiences of the 90s were. I want you to, let's talk about, so I'm a baby of the 90s. I mean, of the 80s, excuse me. Yeah, exactly. A lot of 90s wisdom. Don't go chasing waterfalls. Now, there's a big change between the 80s and the 90s. Tonight, we're going to be focusing on the 90s, right? From 1990 all the way up. Because the world after the Big 9 event is just totally different. That was just such a huge catalyst. The Big 9 event. But you're going to notice tonight as we watch some 90s commercials. It's going to be fun. We'll do another stream about 80s, guys. Don't worry. We'll go back to the 80s. Totally 80s. But I want to talk a little bit about my own experience. We'll look a little just to have fun. We're just having fun tonight. I know a lot of people are against fun. They don't believe in it. We don't believe that. I got my zippable CD flippity floppity thing. Remember that? Look at that. That's still a 90s thing. Right? What's on the front? What do we got here on the front? We got some great selections. You guys are going to have fun seeing my 90s. Now, not all of these are from the 90s because I did continue the usage of the CD flipper thing up into the 2000s for sure, as I'm sure most of you did. Some of y'all I still use my CD flipper thing, but this does go back to the 90s. And so we're gonna find some classics like, you know, Best of NXS. So we're gonna have some fun going through all that. What was I listening to in the 90s? What was my high school playlist? We'll be talking about that. I want to know your high school playlist. I wish I could play the songs. That would be ideal. But there's just no way. I mean, as soon as you play 1 second, the algorithm will flag it. And I'm nervous about even playing these stupid commercials because even some of these commercials have it's not that you can't play it. It's that it will not do well in the algorithm is I think what that's my summation. But we're going to watch a few commercials. These 90s commercials, dude, they're off the hook. They're off the hook. But I mean, look, I still got my Braveheart CD. Do you? Now, this one actually is from the 90s. This is legit my 1996 Mel Gibson Braveheart CD. You want that? I'll trade it. I'll trade it for your TLC Don't Chase Waterfalls CD. I'll trade you one Braveheart for a TLC. Don't go chasing waterfalls. Please stick to the rivers on the lakes of your yellow sound. There's bugs in here. I'm invoking them with my not on point vocals tonight. Invoking vocals is what we got tonight. Welcome everybody. Hit like. So nobody wants to know what it's like in the 90s. Nobody grew up in the 90s. I still got mine. I mean, we got a whole. We'll go through all my 90s cities. I'm just joking. Right? Like, I'll pull out my sneaker pimps. What are you going to do when I pull out a sneaker pimp? This was hype when it came out. I remember I went to New York. That was my senior year. I went to New York and I went into a giant CD store, like a giant Tower Records in New York. I did stand up my senior year, right? So I went to New York, did a bunch of open house stand up nights because I wanted to be a stand up. And I went to the giant. I thought it was so cool to see like a 3-story Tower Records in New York. And I was like, what is this? Who are they? And I listened to the Sneaker Pimps and I was sold, dude. Then they had that sweet song on the Saint soundtrack, Nelly Hooper remix. It was lit. Welcome to the 1990s. Now, the early 90s for me was kind of rough. I was still into sports pretty heavy. I love the Lakers because I lived in California, so I wanted to be a basketball player. I wanted to be, and believe it or not, when I started watching the Lakers in the 80s, that was still the days of Magic Johnson, what's his name that got busted for going to hoe houses? Remember him? James Worthy. Remember James Worthy? Magic, James Worthy, and Kareem. So I thought Kareem was the coolest. And this was pre-HIV. Right, MJ. But I actually wanted some of those underwater goggle glasses that Kareem had because I thought it would make me play better. So I was a kid, so I didn't really, But yeah, I was a big basketball dude because I grew up in California. And then we ended up moving back to Tennessee. And I had been moved away from my little tiny redneck town to San Diego because I had a dad that was in the Navy. And that was like culture shock for sure. But then getting California-ized, I turned into a California dude. And then being put back into, right, the tiniest little small town. That was a big change. It was like a double shock. So then I had to be reintegrated into, like Southern redneck culture. But the weird part was that when I went to California as an elementary school student, I got into rap. I was into rap music when I first heard Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince. And when I came back to Tennessee, nobody in Tennessee was into rap. Literally everybody liked country. There was like 3 metalheads. So there's like 3 dudes into Metallica, and everybody else was just country dudes. Because at that time, again, nobody knew what rap was. It was still like a joke. People would laugh at it if you talked about rap. This is like 1990, 89, 90, right? No rap in Tennessee yet. And so I was like, well, I guess I am out of place if I like rap because I lived in California. Because I used to watch Yo MTV Raps, right, with Dr. Dre and Ed Lover. Does everybody remember this? I had these horrible Tommy Hilfiger jackets pulled up. But, so, Jamie didn't have this experience. That's the funny thing, is that she didn't go to high school shows. She didn't understand how cliquish and how high school in the 90s, and I'm assuming maybe to a degree, so it's a rigid hierarchy. And it prepares you for life in a way, in that regard. I mean, I think people should be homeschooled. I'm not advocating. I'm just saying the way it was in the 80s and 90s, right? It's rigid cliques. And it was so common. I mean, humans just do this, right? Humans just get in cliques. And it's in all of the 80s movies. So when I was in high school, I started high school in 1993, it was still like it was in terms of the John Hughes idea of the 80s high school clique. Totally like that. And since I had been in California, there was a little bit of a mystique because, oh, he's the California dude. And they would call me the California kid, but that was all weird because when I was in California, the kids all made fun of me and called me the redneck, right? They called me the Tennessee boy. And then when I moved back, I'm the California kid, which, again, none of it makes any sense. But, you're talking about 8th, 9th grade. Then, so high school starts in like 93 or something. And you realize it's super clique. Right, you're the lowest man on the totem pole, and they used to have all kinds of dumb initiations for freshmen coming to high school. Oh, they sell you an elevator pass, this kind of stuff. I forget what they had they had something like this in my high school where it was like the seniors had the right to, I don't know, trick the freshmen into something ridiculous like, I don't know, parking in the wrong spot and they got towed. I don't know. No, it couldn't be that because you don't have your car yet. I don't remember what it was. It was something stupid. But you quickly learn the rigid hierarchy of the microcosm that is high school. And a few movies do capture this fairly well, right? I mean, Breakfast Club captures this probably the most famously. Every coming-of-age 80s teen movie captures this, even though we're in the early 90s. But there's not a huge difference between, say, 88 to 93. There's some style changes, but the difference between 1998 and 2003 is massive. So I just thought it would be fun to do, kind of a step into the background. Step into the nostalgia, reminiscence times. And remember what it was like. And to give you an idea what it was like in a small town of 20, 30,000 people in the South, 2 hours from Nashville, right? So that's where I grew up. So for us, like a big deal, a big party night, a big deal would be a trip to Nashville. Whoa, you're going to Nashville, dude? Yeah, man. I know this chick, and she knows a dude, and there's going to be a rave in Nashville. What? Nuh-uh, raves are only in Detroit in the UK. There's nothing in Tennessee that cool. Yeah, man, there's going to be a rave. One time, there was a rumor of a rave. But actually, for whatever reason, there was more of a techno presence in Memphis. I don't know why. But there were more raves and techno clubs and whatnot, or actual raves, like in hidden warehouses and stuff in Memphis. And even though most of my fan base, I had a fan base by the time of senior year. Most of the people in our circles, we all thought, oh, dude, we got to go to a rave because like there's chicks and drugs there, right? More so than at any other party. Because if you live in a small town, all of the country dudes, they have parties every weekend, right? So you can get invited to the redneck dudes party, but it's not going to be that fun for you because everybody dresses according to their clique. So all of the redneck dudes who would party, but it was always just beer drinking, right? A little bit of bud toking. You know, I mean, they all dressed and act like the same kind of redneck dude, right? So I'm trying to think of. They would literally dress like Garth Brooks in the 90s dressed. Right? Like they would wear that. This is what the redneck dudes look like in high school. And they were their own tight clique. Right? If you didn't dress like Garth Brooks, you couldn't be in their clique. And by the way, Garth is wearing tennis shoes. You're supposed to be wearing your ropers, dude. You can't be in the redneck clique if you're not wearing ropers. And yes, we called these dudes rednecks, and nobody cared. It's not a pejorative. It's just that's the redneck group. They didn't care. Were y'all Garth Brooks? I was never into country. See, when I was in high school, I didn't want to. When you're in high school, you want to rebel, against all the stuff that you were raised with. So I was raised around all, country nonstop and Hank Williams Jr. and all that, which I later came to like. But in high school, I didn't like. It was, that's just not cool. I'm sick of this stuff. Dumb rednecks. I'm so much cooler than that. So guess what? Pop culture gives you your option. Alternative music. So in the early 90s, we get this new thing. And for kids out there that don't know, before there is indie music, right? Before there was indie in the 2000s, we had alt music, alt bands. I'm into alternative. And it's like every other genre where it's all a bunch of snobs and know-it-alls and everybody's, the real authentic ones, right? Is a lot of music snobbery. Because again, we're adjacent to Nashville, right? So Nashville adjacent cities are all going to be the super music snobs everywhere, right? Everybody knows everything about music, and especially in high school, for whatever reason, when I was in high school, everything was very judgy from our vantage point on your CD list. Like, let me see your CD flipper thing. I'm gonna judge you. Oh, okay, all right, that's up. Whoa, no, you suck, dude. You like them? Get out of here, right? Literally, it's like that, which is totally a consumerist kind of thing. There's no coherency to it, but everybody in high school judges everybody on the basis of their consumerist music choices. Meanwhile, you're over there brooding about this freaking consumerism, dude. All this consumerism, man. Meanwhile, you're bedecked in t-shirts from your favorite band, and I had like the biggest CD stack. So basically, I would take my weekly paycheck. I worked at a paint store, and we didn't have good CD stores where I lived, right? So you had to drive like an hour or two to giant CD stores. That's what we love to do, especially the used ones, right? And so I would take my whole damn paycheck, my 9th and 10th grade year, because they get paid on Friday. Boom. Friday night or Saturday, cash that thing in, stack of CDs, baby. That's what I would do. So I went music crazy. And I did eventually have like this gigantic CD. When I think back to it, I think, man, good grief. I had so many CDs in high school. What happened to all those CDs? Now, 90% of that garbage I wouldn't be able to tolerate. I remember buying Green Day Dookie when it came out. Now, that was 9th grade, so cut me some slack, right? My palate was not sophisticated as of yet. It was pretty much straight garbage. But I remember, yes. What were the 40 best records from the 90s? Let's see. So this is the right time period. Live. Now, I kind of liked Live when they first came out. Do you remember when Live was brand new? And when you only heard a couple Live songs, it was okay, right? Lightning crashes and old Mother Dyer's. The angel opens her eyes, pale blue colored eyes. Remember that? You hear that on the radio, you're like, yeah! Ooh. You got tingles from freaking Live dude over there, crooning. When he does that, the angel opens her eyes. You feel it. I did buy it live. I bought live. I remember that. Bush. I had a friend. She was a redneck girl, but she was in love with my best friend in high school. And she was obsessed with freaking Gavin, dude. Remember Gavin? Glycerine. I did like Bush, though. I remember when the Bush CD came out. I remember I was I really liked that Bush CD. Cranberries, didn't like the Cranberries. See, the other thing about being in high school at this time period is people don't get this now because nobody listens to radio. So, but at this time, you had your own personal CD stash or your tape deck. You still got a lot of tapes, right? So 94, I started buying CDs in 94. Prior to that, I had a giant tape stack, right? And Jamie was laughing because remember those swervy CD stacks? Everybody in the 90s had a swervy CD stack. I had to buy this gigantor, like, freaking turnstile to hold all my CDs. It was crazy. I was CD nuts. I don't know why. It's like an idol or something. Welcome, everybody. By the way, if you guys would hit like and share. Yeah, so I had very picky, super picky, dude. Spurgy picky. I did not like punk music. Didn't vibe with that at all in the 90s. So my introduction was pop punk. Okay, so this is what I'm trying to get to about the radio. So the way it worked in the 90s was everywhere you go, radio's on. All the businesses, all the stores would play the local radio station. And the problem is that the local radio stations in the 90s, especially in small towns, were paid. This is what I've later heard, and I think it's probably true. They were paid to play a certain playlist on repeat. So basically the top 10, top 20, top 40 got the constant billing. And it was almost like a form of weird mind control where all you would hear was the same, like, 20 songs endlessly, and it would drive you crazy. And this is partly why the rest of us who liked other things, anything, I mean, you could be into jazz music, right? You don't have to be a 90s alt dude. You had to get away from these places to listen to anything that wasn't top 40. And so it would drive you crazy, especially if you worked at a place that would play the radio. So like if you worked at I worked at a paint store. Now thankfully they let me take over the tape player. Okay, so I was blessed in the 90s at the paint store. We didn't have a CD player. I later brought my own CD player up there. But for a while there, it was radio. And we had KQ 105. KQ 105. And KQ 105 would drive you crazy. In fact, I almost got into a fight with the high school dude who was yes, we had a dude in my high school who was the DJ up there. Kit. Freaking Kit, dude. I cannot stand this dude. I tried to get into I actually wanted to fight this guy. He might have actually beat me up because he's a really tall dude. But I was so sick of Kit. We hated Kit because he was just a super corporate dude in the 90s. Imagine a redneck town with a corporate dude that would tuck in his Tommy Hilfiger shirts with a braided belt. Anyway, I never ended up fighting Kit, but Kit couldn't stand me. And he played the worst lineup. This is why we hated Kit. We always made fun of him and his top 20 lineup. And I can tell you right now what it was. It was damn frickin' Hootie and the Blowfish, number 1. Yes, Hootie, number 1. There was, I can sing and sound just like Darius. And I don't like Hootie and the Blowfish. Because it was ingrained into me day after day after day at work. Grinding, imagine, it's almost like a type of mind control. It's got to be. Grinding away at the manual labor in the paint store. Mixing that paint. Shake it up. She went in the back to get high. I sat on the roof and just cried. Felt sorry for myself. Let her cry. As the tears roll down that way, let her cry. And if the sun comes up tomorrow, you feel me on that? Now here's another problem. Hey, but wasn't Candlebox decent? Yeah, but Candlebox made it into like the top 20. And KQ 105 destroyed that for you. Left me far behind. Yeah, I know. Now, I did like STP. They made it into the mainstream. And see, that's the thing. Like, in the 90s, that's how you judge somebody who knows decent music and is cool and somebody who just sucks and is corporate. So if you listen to Top 40, typically, it's like, nah, we don't like you, dude. Oh, no, he likes pop stuff. Oh, he likes Top 40. What? Pfft, not cool, right? Because you got to be listening to... But now everybody also has their exceptions, right? Even in the 90s. Okay, right? Like, for example, the Black Crowes. Like, they made it into Top 40 or whatever, I guess. I never liked the Black Crowes, but I was weird, dude. I had a lot of weird likes and dislikes, really eccentric stuff. Like, I liked Tori Amos. I don't know why. I wouldn't like Tori Amos now, but I did at the time. I like the Toadies as we go through these albums. Yes. Neil Young. I've been searching for a heart of gold. I liked that album because I remember we would go drive out to some of the redneck parties. And if you go to a redneck party, you can maybe find some overlap with the music there. Because if you don't want to hear country, it's like, all right, well, we got to play something we can all agree on. Okay, throw some... Harvest Moon on, right? Am I right about that? Harvest Moon, remember that? I like that album. Okay, I could listen to that. I've been searching for a heart of gold. Y'all remember that album? Remember how what was he saying? If Joe Rogan is allowed on Spotify, he would leave it or some nonsense. These boomer rockers, dude. Is there anybody worse than the boomer rockers? I don't think so. I think they're pretty much the worst. Let's see. Dinosaur Jr. Nope, never liked it. I know that's alternative. Didn't care for it. Corrosion Conformity. Nope, didn't like it. I remember the Reality Bites soundtrack, and I remember that girls like that. Like, they would buy the Reality Bites soundtrack because all the girls bought Jagged Little Pill, you know. Now, Smashing Pumpkins, definitely very cool. Definitely thumbs up. Everybody had Melancholy. No, I take that back. Everybody had the first one. And then everybody had Melancholy and Infinite Sadness. I mean, dude, everybody. Even, we thought it was weird because when, what's the previous one? The previous Smashing Pumpkins CD? With the conjoined twins, that's when they really hit radio status. But they somehow were still cool. I don't know how they made radio, right? But we still liked them okay. And then everybody loved Melancholy. It's a very bizarre album, by the way. Anyway, if you would hit like and share, welcome. Now, see, at this time in high school, my other best friend. One of them, he got into one was like the Beatlesy reggae friend. So I got really into the Beatles via Ben. And then I had my other buddy, Tommy, the metalhead. And I never liked metal, but every now and then he would play a metal song that I kind of liked. And because I was really into techno, I eventually warmed up to some metal in the 90s, like Helmet. Remember Helmet? I was like, well, these guys are like preppy metal, so I could take this. I could take a preppy metal, man. But the other thing about metal was that in the 90s, in high school, you're not going to get any dates from if you like metal. Okay? Metal dudes, no offense to metal guys today. I don't want to bust your bubbles. But metal is skanky. If you're a metal dude, you probably smell like a wood stove. You probably funky, your hair stinks, you might LARP as being into Satanism. You're always mad all the time. Metal dudes were never joking around except cutting up in class, right? And then they want to go fight somebody. So why are you trying to fight her? What are you so mad about? Trying to fight all the time? Yeah, Headbanger's Ball, right? Ricky, what's his face? So, but my metalhead buddy, he was the only one that had a car. He had a car before all of us. And so we have to rely on him to get around. So I was subjected to all of the metal that you could ever think of and dream of. Every kind of everything. Everything from Halloween to Pantera to King's X. I mean, that's it's rock-ish, whatever. But I couldn't get into it. I did like industrial. So people were saying KMFDM. I did, even though I'm wearing a Depeche Mode shirt, which is still, to this day, one of my favorites. I didn't get super into metal. I just couldn't vibe with it. It always felt too angry. And I wasn't mad at everything. So, never had a Pantera CD. I remember I had Prong, Helmet, 9 Inch Nails, KMFDM. So industrial, that was as far as I could go, like metal wise. That's about it. Bad Religion, no, never listened to that. Sugar, don't even know what that is. Never listened to Sugar. Now everybody in my circles of friends, everybody liked Frank Black. Everybody liked the Pixies. I just never got into it, right? And I know I've been on with Clyde Lewis. That's Clyde's theme song. Where is my mind? Yeah, I know. I've heard all the Pixies and all Frank Black. I know. I just never jived with it, but I could see that being in the top in the top 94-ish. Rancid, nope. Never liked Henry Rollins, nope. Korn, nope. Never liked Korn. I did like STP. A lot of people don't remember Veruca Salt. I did. I actually liked, because now we're starting to get alt chick bands. This was a weird phenomenon. Do you remember this? Alt chick band. Remember, there's not just Veruca Salt, but remember L7? I had two buddies that liked L7. I thought they were always completely ridiculous. I would always make fun of both of them because they would play this. You make my shit list. Shit list. Everybody knows shit list, right? I was like, this is awful. And by the way, all of these gals were the rad femmes of that time. Remember, we did a Hoaxbusters episode on, I'll forget that one girl's name. I didn't like any of these punk chicks and even the alt chicks. They were pretty annoying, right? Like the Breeders. Okay, it's okay, but I mean these chicks are intolerable, dude, insufferable. The alt chicks in their alt rock bands, but nevertheless, Helmet. Yep. Now I have to admit. You want to know what kind of a person I was in the 90s. This will probably disappoint you. I was an Oasis nerd. Yep. Big time. So I was a totally Oasis fan. Still a big fan. Still like Noel and Liam. And that's probably going to come as a big downer to a lot of people. But I was 100%. My senior year, we sang karaoke. And the big song everybody sang, which was big hit that year, was Champagne Supernova. So even though Oasis did make it to radio fame, we liked Oasis in 94. So definitely Maybe had just come out. And at that time, believe it or not, Oasis was actually they were seen as kind of alt edgy, Brit rock. Like they weren't that big. They had only had Live Forever, Rock and Roll Star. And those were pretty new singles, right? You remember in the way it worked in the 90s, people that didn't live in the 90s, so albums didn't all come out at once. You get a single or two, and then you get the album. It may still work like that. I don't know. They still kind of make CDs, right? So, and you musicians, big ones, like they still kind of put out a single and then an album, right? My buddies like Liz Phair. I didn't really get into Liz Phair. I like a couple things. I never liked The Offspring. After ninth grade, I hated all this pop punk. All of it. I thought it was garbage, dude. I hated it. And I don't know why. I liked Green Day when I heard them in 1994. And by 1995, I hated all of these things. I think I threw it away. I never really liked REM, but I would play REM. Because they would make me, if I felt sad, yeah, put some REM on, dude. Which is so pitiful now. It's like, what? That's me in the corner. That's me in the spotlight. Losing my religion. Yeah, man. It's like, what are these churches even about anyway, man? Yes, they try to get me to conform. Like, and what a weak ass thing to see as a form of rebellion, anyway, right? Michael Stipe and REM. Ugh. Talk about weakness. Never liked Sonic Youth. Now, here's the interesting thing about the Meat Puppets, which I remember the one time I stole something in the 90s, believe it or not. No, twice. Stole a cigar one time, and I stole a CD one time. That was the extent of my thievery. And I ended up feeling bad about it. So I went and apologized to the manager at Walmart later that a couple years when I started going to Bible study. I felt bad for stealing. This, I don't know why, but the CD that I stole was the Meat Puppets. So I will never forget the Meat Puppets because Nirvana, I think, yeah, they helped kind of propel them because Nirvana covered 3 Meat Puppet songs. And the weird thing about the Meat Puppets was they were kind of grunge, pre-grunge. And here's the thing. They were wearing women's dresses way before anybody else did that. Now, I know some punk people did that. But the way that started happening in the grunge scene, okay, so connected to alternative music, which it doesn't totally overlap, but one of the genres of alt is grunge. And I can't really explain and convey accurately how big grunge was in the 90s. It's got this whole new genre, just like out of nowhere, right? Out of the worst social justice hellhole ever, right? Seattle, the grunge scene, man. And it was connected to this, liberal social justice ideology at that time. Yes. Now, turns out, and we did a whole podcast on this back in the day over with John and Chris, rest in peace, Chris, was this thing that turns out John thinks, and he's basically a music historian, right? He's actually a really excellent musician too. John thinks that the grunge scene was also promoted and engineered by a bunch of intelligence and system-connected people. In other words, it's also kind of a phony counterculture movement. And I think that's pretty much true. Kathleen, what's her name? You guys will know this. I quit caring about grunge after like 2 years of being into grunge, right? But Kathleen, what's her name? Anyway, she ends up having like these super deep feminist connections. There's a lot of connections to key universities, not just in Seattle, but also in Washington for a lot of these groups. And I do think, I do question the Kurt Cobain. Have you guys seen the clip, by the way, of Kurt Cobain talking about human TRAFFICKING? Yep. Yeah. And I did an interview a long time ago. I think, with Sean Helton on the Kurt Cobain, questioning the Kurt Cobain thing. Anyway. Hey. Is it Kathleen? Yeah, that's it. Kathleen Hanna Bikini Kill. John Adams did a whole excellent breakdown. I did like Alice in Chains. And Alice in Chains was I don't know. I liked it, but it was always super dark, right? You could almost feel the weight of Lane Stanley's heroin addiction, and a lot of these people ended up being like total heroin addicts. And I think Scott Weiland from Stone Temple Pilots, right? Didn't he? Could you plug that in? Thanks. Forgot to plug it in. Welcome everybody. Would it like and share? We're having a 90s nostalgia. 90s nostalgia, the white one. Did I not? Oh, I didn't bring it in here. I'm sorry. Could you bring it? Thanks. 90s nostalgia. Now, for my friends, for my circles, the game changer for all of us, we went kind of nuts over this. This was a game changer. Beck. We were Beck crazy, dude. In fact, we were so Beck crazy. I think I actually have a picture. I would dress like Beck in the 90s. I think I have. You will find this picture amusing if I can find it. I doubt I can, but I should have found these before we started this. Don't worry, I'm not gonna bore you with a bunch of stupid pictures, but I did attempt to look like Beck in the 90s. Thank you. Everybody, now people are tuning in. They really want to see, did he actually, in fact, look like Beck in the 90s? Yes, kind of. So here is proof positive that I looked like Beck in the 1990s. There's one really good one, but these are good enough. I can't find that one, though. Anyway. That will suffice. We'll look at those later. So we thought that this was quite amusing. We would dress up in different outfits and sort of go around town acting ridiculous, right? Doing all kinds of stuff. And a lot of times we would film it with our camcorder. We had a friend that had a camcorder. So there you go. Proof positive. There's me in 1990. This is probably 96. Dressed up like Beck. Anyway, does that work? I feel like that's not really gonna work. So, I don't know. I just thought it was funny to stand out there with a guitar and outside the women's bathroom and to look like a poor redneck dude. And then here's me making Zoolander face in 1997. So there you go. Yes, that's. I don't know why I really thought this fish hat, like a fisherman's hat. I thought that was so cool in the 90s. That Ralph Lauren fishman hat. And no, I didn't go fishing, but I thought that thing was damn cool. Because in the 90s, you got a peacock. You know what I'm saying? Peacocking. That's what you do. And I thought I had another picture of Beck where I really look like Beck, but maybe I don't. Anyway, this is getting boring, I know. Don't worry. I also participated in the 90s thing where you dye your hair blonde. Remember that? I did that. I dyed my hair blonde in the 90s. Thought that was super cool. And this is before there was any Eminem. So don't think that this is like an Eminem thing. That may have been all of the options there for pictures. Aha, so here we go. This is proof positive. When I went to do stand-up in New York in 1997, there's me standing on Times Square looking at my watch. And then we had, I mentioned this on some streams, people thought I was full of it. No, we actually would do Mafia Day in high school. And believe it or not, I had an actual pellet gun with me that day. So you could actually bring a pellet gun to high school back in that day. Isn't that wild to think about? This was Mafia Day. Now the high school didn't have Mafia Day. We had Mafia Day at high school. We would just dress up. It's like, oh, were you doing lolicon? Were you doing? No, this wasn't cosplay. This was like performance art, dude. It's not cosplay. We was psyop in the dang high school, bro. Literally psyop in high school. Ain't no damn cosplay. Get out of here with that nonsense. So, I really wanted to find that Beck picture. That was perfect. I dropped all my pictures. These are from the 90s. These are no good. Remember cargo pants? Here's me making a ridiculous Madonna pose with cargo pants. Remember cargo pants? Bruh, cargo pants, dude. People are feverishly trying to Google and figure out, where is that? Where is that? Let's go get him. Let's go expose him. Can't expose the Paris Mafia. Anyway, forget all that. Yeah, so what was your high school experience like? Did you listen to Beck? Now, this was another game changer too. Beastie Boys, Ill Communication, Paul's Boutique. How could you not like the Beastie Boys in the 90s, dude? Come on. Pearl Jam, Vitology. I was never a big Pearl Jam. I had Pearl Jam. I liked Even Flow. That was it. I didn't like anything else. Sorry, Eddie. Somebody told me yesterday, you look like Eddie Vedder now. What? How times have changed. Didn't like Eddie. No, never liked Hole. Didn't like Courtney Love. No, none of that. Even flow, all around like butterflies, yeah. Oh, we don't know. I did like Temple of the Dog. Okay, y'all were talking about Temple of the Dog. Yeah, that was all right, right? I mean, I liked the first Soundgarden album back in the day. Spoon Man, come together with your hand, save me. Yeah, but I mean, come on. Who? Pearl Jam? Jeremy spoken yesterday. And I don't know why every dude in the 90s sang that way. Why? The only one I liked was Scott Weiland, right? I could do Stone Temple Pilots. I really like Stone Temple. I don't know why. I like them all right? And I feel the time's a ways to go. Well, dog, to find it. How do they sing like that? All those dudes sing that way. What the heck? Why? I can't even make fun of it. Even Gavin sang that way, didn't he? From Bush. And he's from freaking Britain. How's a British dude going to be singing like Eddie Vedder and Chris Cornell? What? Glycerin. I don't even remember what's the other. Bush it's odd because did he still have hits? There was that one album, and then he was married to Gwen Stefani. So did he just kind of keep being famous from Gwen Stefani? I don't even remember any Bush songs beyond that one. Right? Remember, look, dang, dude, he's got like 50 albums. He was churning them out, wasn't he? Got a machine head, better than the rest. Okay, I remember that one. I forgot that. Little things, everything's in every. Okay, okay. There's a few more here. Okay, I forgot about those. And then I did have this CD too. Razor Blade Suitcase. I don't remember any of these songs, though. Did y'all have this one? Anyway, so Come Down. I forgot. I don't want to come back down from this cloud. It's taking me all this. Oh, yes. Okay. I forgot about Come Down. That's the big one I'm forgetting. I knew I was forgetting one big one. Well, guess what? Creed sounds like all of these dudes. Somebody like, you sound like Creed. Because Creed sound like these dudes. That's the 90s grift, dude. If you're a singer in a band and you can't really sing, just do that voice. Right? And Creed was technically 90s, right? When did the first one come out? Because in my mind, I don't really think about Creed as 90s. They seem to, so that Creed is, okay, so 99, My Own Prison, 97. I don't even know any of these Creed songs because Creed wasn't cool. Sorry, in my circles, nobody liked Creed, dude. We made fun of Creed. My sacrifice. Can you take me higher to a place? Right? No, sorry, Creed sucked. And if you liked Creed, I'm judging you right now. MTV Unplugged. Remember this? Everyone had this Nirvana MTV album, definitely. Weezer, definitely. My first concert was Weezer. So I went to see Weezer in 1994. First concert ever. And I remember I had a Star Wars hat, and I read that the drummer was a Star Wars fan. And I threw him my Star Wars hat, and he caught it, and he said, thank you. So that was my first brush with fame in 1994. But I definitely thought Weezer was super cool. Everybody had the Downward Spiral. I can't emphasize how big this album. I mean, this album was so huge. Everybody had Downward Spiral, dude. This, mainstreamed industrial music, I guess you could say. And then, of course, nasty old Green Day. Yeah, I don't know about all that. But that was an interesting, let's see, blast of, let's see, what was the top albums in, we'll say 97. Not 1887, dude, come on. It'd be a bunch of dang Baptist hymns. Here we go. What were the top alt albums of 97? Yes. Now, half of these are still in my flip thing. So, yes, here we go. Now, 97 is important because 97 is that's the year I graduated. So that was a big year. By the way, if you guys would hit like and share, we're having fun doing a 90s nostalgia retrospective, 400 plus tonight. All you millennials and Gen Xers in here in the audience tonight. Oh, I get knocked down, but I get up again. I don't never know. Oh, I get knocked down. I love again. I don't never know. A little bit of Tina in my life. Yeah, see, that's radio. So you guys keep talking about radio stuff, and that's not cool. Radio stuff, that's not cool. Let's see, 1997. What were the top 23 alternative albums? Now, this ain't alternative. Spice World. That's the essence of garbage pop. Now, this is when they brought back, late 90s, early 2000s, they brought back boy bands and girl pop stuff. That went away, you didn't have that from, say, 93. So Madonna, nobody cared about Madonna in 1993. She was starting to get unpopular by 94. Yeah, I've always been a big Bjork fan. I always liked Bjork. But when alternative dominated the scene from like 93 to 98, they brought back this horrible corporate creation stuff. This is when we started getting, because in the 80s you had Tiffany, you had New Kids on the Block, right? Which was just completely corporate, terrible, churned out fake stuff. And that's in part what indie or alternative music, before it was all indie music, right, was reacting against. It was non-corporate, independent label music reacting against a lot of this stuff. And that's where the grunge bands got popular, was from not being signed to a label, man. I'm not on your label. Right? And all those grunge douchebags, like, they made a huge deal about that at that time, right? We're not really on any labels because you can't label us. Yeah, we can label you. You're a grunge douchebag. Come on. Right? And you want to be on a label because you all ended up on labels. What are you talking about? We're not on labels. You can't. And then they're like the total biggest giant sellouts to the Democratic Party ever, right? Eddie Vedder and all them. But you could even probably come up with some weird conspiracy that maybe they even brought back this stuff in the late 90s to get to just basically end the music, right? Some people have said this. I never liked Sonic Youth. Everybody's about Sonic Youth. I never liked. Now, here's the thing. There's something to this. Because what happens in the late 90s, what suddenly is everywhere? Britney. Freaking Britney, dude. Right? Like, I'm pulling up 90s collages, okay? Everybody's going to have Britney on their 90s collage, for sure. Because about 96, 97, every dude of puberty age has this freaking... I didn't have it, but I'm saying, like, my brother had a giant Britney poster. He had a crush on Britney. And he had this poster right here. You see that? Oh, baby, baby. Oh, baby, baby. Britney... 19... Was it 6 or 5? Like, when was she just out? Whoa, dude. Yes. Okay, so when Britney's out, all the young dudes had a crush on 1996 Britney. And this is when she was still like the pop good girl. This is before they did the whole nasty thing with her, right? Anyway, but this was a fascinating time because what this did, I'm not saying just Britney, but hit me baby one more time. This brought all of these garbage MOLESTED dudes in. Okay? I'm talking about the rebirth of the Backstreet Boys, incarnated, coming in the spirit and power of Backstreet Boys, incarnated in like 10 different boy bands. And this just took over suddenly. Suddenly, this was everywhere. So there's this weird brief period of very popular alternative music in the say 93 to 98. And then everything switched back to this really weird Backstreet Boys, 98 Degrees. I mean, and there's a bunch more of them too, isn't there? I don't even remember all these things. Ugh, look at this. Faking gray, dude. Gray as all get out. Right? I mean, what? Baby, bye, 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 bye. And this is even worse than the Hootie period. Because now the radio stations mind control you, MK Ultra, disassociation infinitely with this stuff, dude. This is way worse than Hootie. Okay, you're going to mind control me? Okay, mind control me with Hootie and Ace of Base. I can handle it. I saw the sign and it opened up my eyes. Now I am happy not living without you. I loved you. Oh, oh, oh. But there is nothing worse than this taking over everything and being everywhere all the time. And it was just grueling, man. So this is why there was so much musical anger and hatred, because this stuff took over everything. Because you had this brief period of cool. Now, the internet comes about, and then waha, right, from like 2004 through maybe even still, indie music. We get the return of alternatives to this stuff. And yes, alternative music was kind of faking lame and faking great too. But it was not this stuff. It was actually creative, talented people doing things that were not corporate formulas that are faking. Obviously faking 100% great, dude. Come on. So, Spice Girls, hell no. Tender Sticks, Curtains. Never heard of the Tender Sticks. Don't know anything. I've never heard of that. Wu-Tang. A lot of people, Tristan, right? Tristan about Wu-Tang. I never liked Wu-Tang. A lot of people in my circles, they did like rap. But if you're in Tennessee and you liked rap by the 1990s, mid-90s, 96, you only liked Memphis rap. So people that liked rap typically, well, some people like Dr. Dre, but the majority of the rap would be people playing DJ Paul, 666 Mafia, Memphis rap. And believe it or not, everybody in Tennessee knew about Juicy J in 1995. You think, oh, Juicy J, he gets popular, with Katy Perry. No, dude, Juicy J was Memphis rap in 1995, dude. What are you talking about? Now, I never really liked Memphis rap, but if you were from Tennessee in the 90s, you heard Memphis rap, for sure. Kingpin, Skinny Pimp, right? Blur, definitely. That was a must-have album. I think I may still have that album somewhere. I actually did like Puff Daddy. I don't know why. But Notorious B.I.G. and Puff Daddy were big enough, and I actually did like them in the 90s. I liked Mace. Stereo Lab had that CD. Didn't care about no Erykah Badu. Daft Punk, guess what? That one's still in the flip book. Definitely had that one. Well, it's not homework, but it's discovery. So look at that. The other first page. Definitely had that one. That was a must-have. All of my friends were super into Ween. They all had Mollusk. I never liked Ween. Don't know why. Couldn't never connect with it. Modest Mouse, okay. I actually really liked The Verve. So any Brit rock, for whatever reason, I thought Brit rock was like really cool. So I definitely had Urban Hymns. That had some good ones. That's pop. Don't listen to Janet Jackson. Pop. Don't listen to that. Didn't listen to Yola Tango. Didn't listen to Nick Cave. Didn't listen. Nope. Spiritualized. Don't know what that is. Flaming Lips. Yes, I like Flaming Lips. Everybody had Notorious B.I.G. Yes. I still have Yoga. So Bjork Yoga, I think, is also in here somewhere. So I'll read you what's in here, just in case you're curious here. Crystal Method, Daft Punk, Gorillaz, Space Hog. Remember Space Hog? Fiona Apple, definitely like the Jack Johnson. We got Trance Remix, Trance, blah blah blah. Coldplay, Moby, Stone Temple Pilots, Enigma, Bjork. So I have Post. So actually I have most of Bjork's 90s. So I still have my Post Toadies. What's in your flip CD? Enigma. Fatboy Slim. Oh, come on now. Can't miss Fatboy Slim. Lo-Fi All-Stars. Fiona Apple. Right, everybody had this one. Like Tidal, isn't it? Everybody had that one. You can't emerge from the 90s without having that one. Daft Punk. Beck. Trance, techno, blah, blah, blah. So anyway. Couple more. Underworld. Can't come out of the 90s like in techno and not have Underworld. Greatest hits, Underworld, absolutely. First big mega concert. What was the first big mega concert you went to? Mine actually was Hank Williams Jr. And then I went to Memphis to see U2, of all people. Yes. Before Bono was a complete douchebag, there was the Pop Tour. And everybody hated this album. I actually liked it. Remember Pop? Because that was when they were really pushing even the big bands like U2 to do more tech, like techno stuff. So Pop has a lot of techno-y sounding tracks. I actually liked that because I was really I was always a U2 fan. I know Bono's like the worst douchebag ever, but in the 90s I love U2. But somebody said, what about Aphex Twin? I never really liked Aphex Twin for whatever reason. I liked everything else in the 90s that was techno for sure, and I got them all here with me. I mean, I'll pull out all the Chemical Brothers you want, all of the Crystal Method you want. I mean, I can pull it all out, but I just no. My favorite soundtrack in the 90s, you got it. It's going to be Val Kilmer's The Saint. Absolutely. A lot of great tracks on The Saint. Another classic 90s album everybody emerged from the 90s with. This is the second one, but the first one and this one, right? Everybody had this, right? Did you have Chris Isaac? Sure, right. What a wicked thing to do. Make me dream of you, and I wanna fall in love. Real quick. Okay, yes, everybody had. Did you have this? Robert Miles, Dreamland. Do, 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 do. Blast from the Past. What's in your CD? 24 disc changer. Do you have a 24 disc changer? Do you have a 48 disc changer? Some of these I'm not showing you because I'm embarrassed. I don't want to get. I get laughed off the internet if I show you some of these, like my burned off PM Dawn disc, written in marker, burnt off. See, by the 2000s, you didn't have to go buy the CD anymore. Have y'all heard of this? Burning your own CD disc. Do you remember that? This horrible, annoying process. It takes an hour and you're all excited because you can put 15 tracks on your burnt CD, which half the time wouldn't play in your car CD player, right? Like this old burnt off Stone Temple Pilots right here. But yes, I still have many of my burnt off CDs. Toadies, of course, right? Yes, I still have my Toadies. What else we got in here? I don't listen to a lot of these, but I dug these out. Modest Mouse, that's not my CD, by the way. It's funny, too, when you remember ending up with your buddy's CDs and somehow you ended up with them from years ago. Like, that's Dave's CD. Dave, this is your Modest Mouse. If you want to come claim it, dude, you can have it. I know it's been at least, maybe it's been a long time. But Dave, if you want your Modest Mouse CD, you can come claim it. I'm admitting to still having it here on the internet right now. Let's see what other couple more hits from the vault. Did y'all have this one? This was an obscure one, but I went to sleep to this album for many years. Did you have Moby Ambient? I still have my original Moby Ambient. It wouldn't put me to sleep now. It would annoy the hell out of me, but I used to go to sleep to that. What else we got? We got some Paul Van Dyk, early trance. What else do we got here? We got Beastie Boys. We got it all. Trance. Oh yeah, this was a big one. Remember this? This was a unique radio thing that I liked. Okay, I'll go with Duran Duran. Yes, we'll go with that one. That gets us. So every now and then, right? You could have a radio hit that sneaks through. Anyway, we're almost done with this. We'll watch a few commercials, and you'll notice the weird part of these commercials. Look for the propaganda, even in these '90s commercials that we're going to look at here in a second. I was curious about what was in the rest of this stack. I don't even remember what's in some of these CD stacks, so I'm kind of like, what? Why in the hell do I have Dave's CD from that long ago still? And I don't even like Modest Mouse, but why do I have it? That was the wonderful thing about CDs. You know what I mean? You end up with your ex's CDs all of a sudden. But then your ex don't want them CDs back because, I don't want to remember you. Keep all them stupid CDs. Keep that. You keep that, I don't know. What's a terrible CD? You keep that Ace of Base CD. I don't know. What's an ex-girlfriend, boyfriend CD that you ended up with? I don't know. Thank you guys for those super chats. If you would, hit like and share. We're still got 400 plus nerds up in there tonight, reminiscing on the 1990s. One last thing I'm going to show you before we get to the fun commercials is I thought it would be funny to see what was in my senior year, my what do you call it? My annual, because they do a think back and remember type of thing, like remember this, but of all the pop culture stuff. So here's my senior. I won't tell you where it is, but which is terrible. Look at this horrible. This thing, it doesn't even fit on the jukebox. Doesn't fit on the frickin'. It looks terrible. This is dumb. So they wanted to do some kind of sock hop themed thing, which nobody in the 1990s wanted to go to a 50s sock hop for prom. And nobody dressed up like a freaking 50s. It was just boomers come. Well, maybe they'd like to dress up in hoop skirts and they could have some greasers. It's like, dude, it's the 90s. We don't even know what greasers. What are you talking about? It's not a Stephen King novel. Nobody's going to come to high school prom dressed like a greaser. I'm going to come dressed like I'm dressed right now with a freaking Depeche Mode shirt on. But I wanted to look at what were the cool cultural things at this time. This is the interesting part of this yearbook. So check this out. This is what I'm supposed to be thinking about and remembering from 1997. This is wild. Watch this. I think I can put it over here so you can see it. Make it better. So I'm supposed to care about this from the 1990s. What do we got here? This is 97. What was the world up to in 1997? Look how ridiculous this is. Bill and Hillary. That's who we're supposed to care about. I do. Do you take this? Do you take this woman to be your satanic bride? I do. Alanis. We're supposed to care about. Remember Jagged Little Pill? But that didn't come out 1997, I don't think, did it? Did Jagged Little Pill come out in 97, Jamie? Yeah, I thought that was like 95. So I don't know why World Beat 1997 is telling me I'm supposed to care about Alanis. But look at that. Nintendo 64. That was definitely a game changer, because what did everybody do? GoldenEye, boy. You better believe everybody's playing GoldenEye. What are we doing on a Friday night after partying and drinking? GoldenEye. Who can beat who drunk at GoldenEye? Well, let's find out. That's what we were doing after we drank. What is this nonsense? Some TV show that nobody even remembers. Now, we'll never forget this. Independence Day. Remember that? That was a huge deal when that stupid movie came out. That was the blockbuster of the summer, apparently. Even though this doesn't seem like 97. I don't know. Boris Yeltsin. We're supposed to a big deal there. Boris Yeltsin. Something sinking. I don't know what this is that's sinking. It's supposed to be the big news story. And then, of course, yes, JFK Jr. and his wife going down in a suspicious thing. Anytime a Kennedy passes away in a plane crash or something like that, I think we could safely say, yeah, that was a hit. I don't know who was behind that, but I don't even have to know. Come on. Kennedy dies in a plane crash? Give me a break. Elmo. Tickle Me Elmo. That was a big deal. We're supposed to care about Tickle Me Elmo. Trans-airline flight 800 explodes. I don't remember that. But world events. The Pope. What was John Paul up to in 1997? Surgery on his appendix. Apparently that was a big deal. Well, here's a big deal. These two. Remember this? Old pre-King Chuck and Diana. So this is right before they got rid of her, right? They took care of her, but there was a divorce. So that was memorable. I do remember that. I definitely remember that. What about in America? What are we supposed to be caring about in America? Oh, yeah. There was certain stories that just dominated the 90s news cycle. And this is bringing back memories. How about old Ted? Yes. Old Theodore Kaczynski. That's definitely a memorable 90s news story. Tormented by this absurd thing, which is a total psyop MKUltra thing, right? Well, he was part of MKUltra, right? And then this dude, remember him? And this Richard Jewell, or is this? This is a huge story that people forgot, and I think this is why they made that movie about him. I didn't watch it, but do you remember Richard Jewell? This is a huge story. Security guard Richard Jewell is investigated as a suspect in the Olympic Park bombing. So they were just starting to. So OKC had just happened, right? And then we got this big story of Richard Jewell, and I think it turned out that was all made up, wasn't it? Wasn't he exonerated? I don't remember the whole story because I wasn't really awake to any conspiracy stuff at this time. But they made a movie, last year or the year before about him? 2019. And that was Clint Eastwood, that's right. Yeah, Clint Eastwood made this movie about Richard Jewell. But here's a topic I don't know anything about. So it'd be interesting to go back and look and see what was really going on with Richard Jewell, because this is probably also a fake and gray thing, right? And I don't even remember. I don't know. I just remember this dominated the news. Like Waco dominated, but that was early. That was 93 or 4. But Richard Jewell, I remember now. Yes, he dominated the news. And of course, old Bill and Hillary you never get away from hearing endless Bill Hillary stories in the 1990s. It was just... Are you like me where whatever your political persuasion is, don't you eventually get sick of hearing about certain people? Like 8 years of just, I'm so tired of hearing about Obama. Do I have to keep hearing about Obama? Do I have to keep hearing about Bush? Do I have to keep hearing about Bill Clinton? It just never ended, man. It was crazy. And it was no different in the 90s. Here's some trends that... Is this still a thing? An oxygen bar? Is that still a trend? Canada opens its first oxygen bar? Is that still a thing? That's a damn grift right there. You could go outside and get it for free. Did you know that? An oxygen bar. Does it get? I mean, do you get dizzy? Is it like a whippet? I mean, what? Let's see who's famous according to this. Jacko. Dude, look, Jacko's wearing his coof mask. What the heck? Why was Jacko wearing a coof mask in 1997? What the heck? Look at Jacko in his stupid mask. What a lunatic, right? I'm not trying to be mean. I know there's some Jacko fans and defenders. But why is he wearing a freaking coof mask? No telling what kind of crazy nonsense he was believing at that. Maybe they told him about chemtrails. I don't know. Kobe. Remember, Kobe was new. Kobe, brand new. Just getting popular. And remember, every dude in the 1990s had a Caesar haircut. In fact, I had a Caesar haircut. I was going to show you a picture of the Caesar cut. I don't know why, but everybody had Caesar cut. I guess because Rob Thomas and George Clooney said you're supposed to have a Caesar cut, I guess. Here's prom, by the way. Everybody got mad because I didn't tell anybody that I was wearing a purple suit, and it freaked people out. They were like, what? So I'm wearing a purple suit, and I had a cane. So I thought it'd be funny to wear a purple suit and a pimp cane to prom, and the girl there next to me got very mad about that. She did not have a good time. She did not find that amusing because she was very concerned about whether her dress would match my purple suit. I thought that was funny. Anyway, what was popular? Independence Day. Ooh, remember this? Leo and Claire Danes. That was a big deal. And by the way, Jamie Kennedy's in that. Remember that? We just did Tom Coombe. Everybody went and saw that. Tom Coombe hanging, suspended. 90s, remember that? Anyway, that's enough of that nonsense. Let's get over here and watch some 90s commercials. Get a little bit of a refresher. Because some of these commercials are pretty nutty, dude. Like there's some wild stuff going on. You got to see this. You got to check this out. Watch this. So let's see some commercials first from 1990. One of these is 94. Yeah, here's Shaq in the shower in 1994. What? Can y'all see that? So pay attention to, we'll look at a little bit of 94 and then we'll look at a little bit of 97. And at this time, MTV was still pretty cutting edge. Like they would have a lot of art house stuff. They would have a lot of edgy, weird TV shows like Liquid Television. They eventually, I think in 96, came out with AMP, which was like the first techno show where it was just premiering techno music. And so they were still playing a lot of music in the 90s, right? And they were also beginning to, I think by 96 or 7, experiment with reality shows. I think we get Real World. When did we get Real World? That's late 90s, right? Real World, can't talk. Real World. So nobody had really seen TV shows. Reality shows. Keep that in mind, right? 92? Wow, I didn't realize that Real World was that early. Because you have to keep in mind, like in the 90s, by the time I'm, junior, senior, so like 95, 96, we don't watch TV. Okay, that's not cool. Every now and then there might be something that would be interesting, but mainly we would have music TV on to listen to music or watch something weird. But we're not watching TV shows. That's what boomers are doing. We're not doing that. Right. So I didn't watch Real World. All I knew is that there was a fake and gray dude named Pedro on Real World, and Pedro he had some health issues. That didn't even look like the right people. Who are those people? I want the season 1, right? Where's the original? Here we go. The original Real World. And by the way, wasn't this all fake too? It's supposed to be called Real World, but it's supposed to be real. It's all fake too, and it's scripted. Yeah, there we go. What do y'all think of Real World? Remember that? And then they did one on the road rules. I mean, it was just, these shows are terrible, by the way. But there were some good things. So, like, for example, if you wanted good sketch comedy, MTV had The State. And The State was, really edgy, cool, alternative comedy back in the day. And you couldn't watch or see anything like that anywhere except, like, MTV. Now, remember, Comedy Channel also was new. So there was one outlet of, alternative comedy analysis with the Comedy Channel in 93. 2 or 3. And even then, believe it or not, the Comedy Channel was not really, like, there was a lot more, it was a lot freer is what I'm trying to say. So people could get away with a lot more. There was no canceling back then. The first time I remember a public story of canceling was Kramer. Do you remember Kramer doing stand-up? And he said the N-word, I think. And I remember it was the first big mainstream media push where somebody got canceled. But I'm trying to remember when that was. Was it as late as, 2006? Right? So he does stand up. He has this incident. It's odd that he's the first one to really get canceled, right? Because countless people had done this kind of a routine or acted this kind of a way or whatever, right? And they weren't canceled. But that was the first that I can recall big canceling was 2006. Interesting. So what was going on in 1994? And pay attention to the messaging in the commercials. One thing I did notice the other day, we won't do this for all night, but it's going to be fun to see some of these, is when I watched a lot of these a while back, I noticed all of the feminism. So they were really pushing feminism in MTV commercials in the 90s pretty early, which I didn't expect. I didn't recall there being, so much feminism. But that was the big deal at this time. And Rock the Vote, when you see this stuff, this is all MTV's alliance with the Democratic Party to push Bill Clinton. So there was already this long-standing alliance, right, between the Democrat Party and fake pseudo pop culture, pseudo counterculture, right? So whenever you see Rock the Vote, this was this push to get disaffected 90s youth to go vote for Bill Clinton.
7 feet 2 inches, 310 pounds. And I ordered the big breakfast.
I'm gonna. So Shaq is huge at this time, right? Kobe isn't even out yet, right? He's about to get recruited, right? This is like his first or second season. And NBA stars were just massive, right, at this time. Remember Buttonfly Jeans? Is this a Buttonfly Jeans commercial? Yes. Look, it's so urban, it's so edgy, it's so hip. Levi's Buttonfly. So it's like the multiracial barbershop where all of the 25-year-old dudes hang out in their Levi's. That didn't exist. There was no multiracial 1994 barbershop where long-haired surfer dudes hung out with urban street poets. So I can assure you that this is a non-existent reality in 1995. Four. Whoa! Look at the misogyny. The guy asked a girl out to dinner in a movie, and she said, "What do you have in mind?" Whoa! Cultural appropriation. Well, I can't say the words I'm thinking, right? What would the social justice words be melting down right now just from this stupid commercial? Now, the weird part is that if you can't take a girl to Taco Bell, even in the 90s, dude, you get laughed at. He's hitting on a chick to go to Taco Bell. What were they thinking? Pushing this. Okay, what does every guy want? Sex and Taco Bell. Yes, put that in the Taco Bell ad. Look how disgusting that looks. A free Blockbuster video. Okay, so this is like the cheap date, right? I'm going to take my date to Taco Bell and we get a free Blockbuster rental. And by the way, that chick is not in that dude's league, right? I mean, I'm not saying she's the prettiest of the 90s women, but she's not going to go with that. That chick is not going to go with that dude to Taco Bell. I may skip some of these car commercials. They're extremely boring, but... What is it? A Toyota Eclipse? A very sci-fi ad there. Very multicultural, diverse commercial there. Thank you for the diversity. Appreciate that. Microwave burritos in the gas station. Yes. Hot dogs from the gas station. Yes. Was that Digimon Hansu in a MasterCard commercial? I think it was. It is. Look at that. The gas station is Nirvana. That was the message of that commercial. What? And they even got tumbling wieners. Look at that. Can I use my MasterCard to buy the perpetual tumbling wieners in the gas station? Yes, you can. Because it's corporate Nirvana. What? That was bizarre, dude. So look at that. Even in the 90s, the commercials are like completely dystopian. Ugh, Mellencamp. This guy's the worst. Sucking on chili dogs outside the Tasty Freeze. Mellencamp on music. I can assure you I didn't watch this interview in the 90s. I can assure you. And I never will.
I'm very comfortable being angry.
He's very comfortable being angry. And we'll pass on that. Is that Roseanne? Roseanne talking about Aerosmith? What? Oh, yeah. They would announce for the MTV Music Awards. I forgot about this. They would announce the contenders. So the contenders of 94 were Beastie Boys, Sabotage, which is, that probably won. I don't know. But Aerosmith, Crazy. Aerosmith, Beastie Boys, Green Day, ugh, REM, and Roseanne. So I guess Roseanne did the MTV Awards. Yep, told you. You gonna watch that tonight? 8/7 Central. This looks like some local commercial garbage right here. This looks like a Tim and Eric skit, man. What? I like the vibe of this. Is this a public service announcement? What is this?
Studio, your one-stop shop for fans and other cool people.
I actually want to get those effects. Do you think that company still exists? That was awesome. Des Moines, Iowa, Special Effects Studio. You think that number still works? Let's try it out. 515. I'm gonna call them up right now. Is this the Des Moines Special Effects Studio? Let's see. 1-515-288-5011.
Welcome to Verizon Wireless. Your call cannot be completed.
So, sorry guys. Des Moines Special Effects Studio is no longer in business. But it did look pretty cool.
Opening act is brought to you by Mitsubishi, bringing you the Diamante, the 1995 Galant.
Come up here and solve this problem.
Here we go. So he's afraid. So the Freudian dream sequence, fear of nudity. Ha 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 ha. Wait, what? What was the beaver doing there? We'll get along as soon as you realize I'm God. This is a really weird ad. So, what do you think this is about? What's your guess? You got to guess this. What is this product? Axe body spray? I don't think that existed in '94. Trojan? Why is there a beaver there? A stuffed beaver? Is this again Freudian? It's got to be because the professor, the authority figure, is a god figure. Which actually, I think this is they're definitely using some Freudian stuff in this ad.
It's 11 p.m. Do you know what you're wearing tomorrow?
Merry-go-round? Clothes for guys and girls. Never heard of that. More basketball. More Shaq. Shaq! So basically the whole world worships Shaq in 1994.
You okay?
He's in... We've seen him now in 2 commercials so far. With like Pepsi, Reebok. Another Levi's 501, right? Yeah, I'm really into my art and my cars and driving down Route 66 to check out my butt, by the way, and also here's my crotch, and like I hang out in this garage all the time or whatever, dude. Like, this is not a real guy. This is like these 501 commercials are really over the top. Those are kind of weird. It's all about creating this this image, right? Oh, these are the old 90. Yeah, this is so Comedy Central is pretty new now, right? They're really starting to get a little bit of a budget, a little popular. Maybe 1 or 2 years of Comedy Central. And the only reason that I really cared about Comedy Central was that in the 1990s, if you wanted to watch Mystery Science Theater, it was a big deal when they got on Comedy Central. All right, and so every Friday or Saturday night, I think Friday night, yeah, we were pretty consistent with Mystery Science Theater, and this was right when Joel left and Mike took over, about 94. But they had these weird shows like this. And it may seem odd because you think, oh, the 90s, it's all corporate control. But actually, there was a lot of experimental shows and weird, neat, creative stuff that both Comedy Central and MTV did back at this time, which just sounds completely foreign to everybody nowadays, right? It just doesn't even register. But it did exist, I promise you. So that was kind of like the only reason that you would have cable or any of our circles or anybody that we would hang. It was because you would get access to some kind of other outlets, you see. Because one thing you guys don't understand in internet era, because you could just like immediately have anything you want, right? Any genre, any movie, any song is immediate. No internet, right? I mean, internet exists, but it's not, nobody's really using it. In 1994, literally the internet exists at the local library. And only the nerdiest freaking nerd goes and uses Encarta to look up something on an internet encyclopedia. Okay, nobody else cares about the internet. It's a freaking dork thing. We're not even using email in 1994. We hear about it. Oh, you're into that dork stuff. I don't care about that. Okay, you don't get music on the internet. You're not watching shows. There's no streaming. Because it's a freaking dial-up. And then you're waiting for a freaking picture to load up for 5 minutes. It sucks. And why do I need to email somebody when I can call them? So there were rites of passage that, men should go through. That's what I'm trying to say about that. That's my rant about. If you wanted to meet a girl, you had to go meet a girl. And that was part of what you had to do to be a man. And part of that process is meeting them in person, which means that your appearance matters. It means that you have to be able to talk to people and communicate. You can't be a weird spurg who stares in their phone all the time and can't talk to people. You have to learn to talk to people. You have to dress up, look nice, look snazzy, tell jokes, be funny, be entertaining, blah, blah, blah. It's not like some impossible feat, but that's what you had to do. And you needed to go through that ritual, you see. And you need to have a girl say no to you and make fun of you. And you need to get dissed multiple times when you ask a girl out. And then eventually you learn the ways of doing it and you get a date. That's how it works. And you learn to build status, so to speak. Even in high school, that was the thing that you were taught in high school. By this normal, natural process that men should go through that doesn't exist anymore. It's crazy. It's weird. It's dystopian. So one of the reasons I'm saying this is just to say that in that respect, it was very different. Society was very different. And to a degree, some of that still exists. I mean, people still go out and have fun and drink and meet people and all that, which is okay to do. That's fine. But Zoomers who have grown up on the internet, their experience of their formative years is completely different than mine. To me, that blows my mind. That's insane to me. So all of these necessary experiences they're not having, like getting in a fist fight and getting beat up. Okay? Like that's something that guys should probably go through. I'm not calling for violence. I'm saying that it's a kind of a rite of passage to get into a scuffle and eventually get beat up. Because you're going to learn that, hey, I'm not actually the toughest guy out there. Right? So I'm going to learn some humility from this. And I'm also going to overcome a fear of getting punched or something, right? But men are not going through even the most basic, normal male rites of passage. And so they are thus arrested and they cannot come of age. So is this guy, let's see if this guy's funny. Is this 90s comedian guy funny? Jake Johansson.
Host a show because we taped a bunch of them and they sent me the tape, but I don't get Comedy Central. I get a lot of shopping channels. I have a lot of Glass American.
So he's going for this pausey, weird, awkward thing. It's not funny.
And I can watch all the court TV I want, but I'm on this. It's my channel, and I don't get it. What the hell is going on here?
The nominees for Best Video of the Year.
Yeah, we know, Roseanne. We already saw Aerosmith, Yeah, we know.
No drying.
A lot of zits. Zits are a big deal in the 90s. Do people still care about zits? Like, if you watch these 90s commercials and Oxy comes up all the time. Remember the Noxzema girl? She even got famous for being the Noxzema girl, and she ended up in Scream, right? Do people not have zits anymore? Is this a big deal? No one cares about zits? I don't see zit commercials, but I don't watch TV anymore. So, by the way, somebody was making a good point. I think it was the Becker video where he was saying, if you do, no, somebody else was saying it. The Green Text channel. If you go, so if you're a normie that's used to watching TV, and then you don't watch TV for a long time, and you go back and watch TV, it will seem insane to you. Especially nowadays. Right? Yeah, what's with all the zits in the 90s, man? It's like people had insane acne in the 90s. It must have been the weird diets and the processed foods, right? But, a lot of zits in the 90s. That's another pattern I didn't think about. Beer commercials. Who would have ever believed that the beer conglomerates, right, would turn into this thing pushing Dylan, what's its face? And, you know, the other thing I noticed too, when you watch ads now, right? I don't ever see, I hate TV obviously, but I remember walking somewhere and we were seeing TV ads recently, and all of the plus size models everywhere now. Could you imagine telling people this in the 90s? They wouldn't believe it, right? Because remember heroin chic? There was a phase when the models tried to look like, what was it, Kate Moss, and they were trying to look really super heroin skinny. But beyond that, if you try to tell somebody, hey, can you believe that by the year 2023, they will be actively pushing everything that you think is disgusting as healthy, beautiful, and a fad and a trend and something that you should do. It's just crazy to think about. No one would have believed that. Like, no, there's no way. I don't even think before, remember Tessa, before Tessa Holiday, people probably couldn't believe that, right? I mean, you go back to 2014, people probably still couldn't believe it. Technology is not the end of competition, it raises the bar. So there's some old dude on a TV telling us about the relationship between technology and the body, and so the human body is a kind of a technological machine. Who is this old dude? This is weird. Nike propaganda, right? Nike Air Max. Oh, so it's just supposed to be like the old generation, the older generation, greatest generation, explaining giving wisdom to the youth. So here's corporate wisdom from the old generation to the youth, which was all just total nonsense. Just do it, right? Oh, the shoe is technology, which aids man's Olympic progress. Cultural appropriation, making fun of Italian people by saying that they cook pizzas. Like, what's the first thing that today's people, and so like when a social justice warrior sees these commercials, this is what she's going to be thinking, right? So he's naked delivering pizzas? What? So that's two commercials now from merry-go-round based around Freudian imagery. It's weird. This is 2 commercials now where a comet has crashed, and it's this super cool sedan, right? This sports car, which is basically just a family sedan, is literally from space, dude. The Mitsubishi Eclipse. Oh, I see, Eclipse. Alright, we already saw this commercial. You're not going to get a date at Taco Bell, I can tell you that. Family sedans, yeah. Whoa, look at that. Oh, that's a local ad. I was like, wait a minute. How can we have on MTV a pro-life ad on MTV? That's wild. So they're planting seeds. But that's a local Iowa ad is why. So one seed sprouted and one didn't? Oh, okay. So that's why you should be pro-life. I see. That's pretty wild, though. A local affiliate on MTV is running a pro-life ad. That's pretty wild. Choose life. Interesting.
The 1994 MTV Video Music Awards opening act is brought to you by Pepsi, who reminds you to be young, have fun, drink Pepsi.
Be young, have fun, and drink Pepsi. Ugh, disgusting. By the way, if you guys would support the show via the Super Chat function, you guys were being generous at the beginning, and we've got a lot of you Gen X and Millennials hanging out here. Well, this is why everybody's got so much damn acne, is all the freaking Pepsi everywhere. Quit drinking all this nasty Pepsi, and you won't have freaking zip problems. You won't need Noxzema and shit. Tell me about the 90s. Tell me your 90s stories in Super Chats. I thought we'd do something a little different. It's just you guys only... I mean, we got 400 people hanging out, but... The first gene, the last great mystery. What? Weird ads. And we know Taco Bell.
Pepsi, however, disappeared.
Hello? It's him.
Be young. Okay, so you're essentially an ape, right? You're being studied. Check this out. This is a weird one. So you're being studied by scientists, the Institute of Beverage Research. You're the monkey. You're the lab monkey, dude.
The real difference between the world's 2 leading soft drinks was implemented in an anthropological study. Chimp A will be allowed nothing but Coke. Chimp B, nothing but Pepsi. The
Wow.
results are astounding. The chimp that drank Coke showed improvement in motor skills. The chimp that drank Pepsi, however, disappeared.
Hello? It's him.
Well, he's also covered in acne, right? That's pretty crazy. So you're basically a mindless monkey in an experiment, being given the who knows what chemical, fetal cell inside this whatever that is, toxic drink. Be young, have fun, drink Pepsi. Oh my gosh, this is crazy. Yeah, we know. Nick at Night. There we go. That's some weird 90s. Watch the old boomer TV shows. No, I'll pass. Racist. Racist.
No, man, just get a bag of chips.
Racist. Everything's racist. What product is this for? Is this another public service announcement not to judge people?
I knew you had something back there.
Uh-oh.
Every kid that carries a gun. There are thousands that don't.
Later, man. Tomorrow.
Let's not forget that. Peace. Live it or rest in it.
These weird public service announcements, right? So don't judge the kids because they don't all carry guns. Okay, it's an odd service announcement though, right? Enough is enough. Child gang violence. Enough youth violence.
We're at the hospital, so you have X-ray vision.
Which is so weird because MTV was at the same time promoting, right, gangster rap and beginning to promote really degenerate metal, right? But now we have these ads saying, don't judge people because we should be peaceful and not have youth gang violence.
You can use it to get cash at 18.
But meanwhile, also here is a bunch of gangster rap, right?
All over. So in any situation, you can just say, stand back.
This is like the third credit card, MasterCard ad. So it's all like get into debt, drink a bunch of science experiment chemicals. You're going to need a bunch of acne medicine. Eat fast food. Let's see what this one is. Club Chuckles. Stand up. Oh, now she's new. This is another merry-go-round clothing. Freudian ads. So you can see it's all just driven by right, like base desires, right? That's it. Sex and food. That's all that the ads are driven by. Pure Freudian. Walter Lippmann. This is like the fourth time, mind control. Like the fourth time they've shown this stupid Taco Bell commercial. Levi's 501. Okay, yeah, we know. Create an image. So this is another thing too. People don't realize that they really decided for whatever reason that now was the time to have a new sport. Extreme sports. Right, this is brand new, 93, 94. And this is around the time, I think ESPN, they have like an extreme sport channel. We're suddenly supposed to be interested in adrenaline rush extreme sports. Extreme what? It's just like they start adding extreme to things, right? Extreme sports. I'm sure that was some kind of stupid Tavistock created thing. Because the whole corporate push at this time is just do it, right? What was the Pepsi live, have fun, go live, have fun, and drink Pepsi. Just do it, right? So basically no restraints, go wild is the advertising jingo tagline of this time. And probably Mountain Dew and some of these giant corps paid for this too, because they tied extreme sports to Mountain Dew, which is always completely disgusting, right? The worst thing. Which, by the way, Mountain Dew comes from Tennessee, I'm sad to say. Diet Mountain Dew. Pure aspartame, just mad science nonsense. What is so we have a TRANS demon dancing on the MTV logo. That's interesting. What in the hell?
Do you know what the M in MTV stands for?
What? Tell us, Roseanne. Me TV. She just burps. What? Okay. Thanks, Roseanne. Yes. Teen Zits. It's a plague, right? Like teen AIDS. Teen Zits. Gotta get my Tony Braxton on. Ooh, here we go. Some styles. Local Iowa styles. That's what I really want to see. Don't you? Nappy head. Yes. Remember the Fugees? Isn't it interesting when the Fuji, like one of those guys was FBI, right? FBI Fugees? Did you guys see this story? What? What is going on?
A journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. Active Endeavors knows how to prepare you for that step with Iowa's largest selection of outdoor footwear, including Teva, America's most popular sports sandal.
This is when we started getting all these disgusting sandals. Everybody was wearing sandals all the time, suddenly in 1994, 95, 96. And I have to confess, I capitulated. I ended up with some Doc Martens sandals, unfortunately. I'm sorry, I apologize. Did you pinch roll? Did you pinch roll your jeans? Okay, these ads are getting a little annoying. And here's another Shaq ad. I mean, Shaq is just like dominating MTV, dude. Just dominating. Let's see, what else have we got? Let's go to 1997 MTV. What are we talking about here? That's what's his face. The stand up. Ramen noodles? Ugh. Disgusting. They were pushing so much junk food. So much pure garbage, right? Yeah, we know. Beavis and Butthead. I didn't realize MTV was, Taco Bell had such a huge role in all of this pop culture conspiracy. Yeah, here's our Spice Girls. Again, sponsored by Pepsi, coming in to destroy the music scene together with their co-conspirators, the Backstreet Boys and 98 Degrees. I didn't realize this just gigantic role that the Spice Girls and Levi's and Shaq had, and Taco Bell. They're everywhere. They're basically running the 90s. They're culture drivers. Beanie Babies. Remember Beanie Babies? Did you have a Beanie Baby? I'm trying to figure out what's going on here. What are we selling in this one? Pepsi again. No, Levi's. And why are they always showing butts? Like, can I buy jeans without having to see butts everywhere and crotches? Do I have to see? I mean, I know how jeans are going to fit my butt, right? I don't need to see all the butts and crotches all the time. It's just weird. I don't know. What is this an ad for?
Nice gig.
Cool DJs. 90s DJs. Trip hop.
Still planning on leaving?
Apparently that was the last order of pot roast. I'm already...
I'm trying to figure out what in the world is this an ad for? Pepsi's version of trip hop. Levi's, of course.
Robert Brooks to check it out.
Do you like the graphics?
Graphics are time.
Yeah, I like them graphics, dog. Video games of the 90s, it was all this stupid football stuff, right? Everybody was always playing all the football games. We're going to pass on that.
See, it's just cool with it.
That's very convincing. Yeah, not everyone's Howard.
Just give me the $1, I'll give him back his quarter, we'll call it easy.
You're trying to be nice, Howard. Nice.
What's her problem?
He's stealing from buskers. Stealing from homeless men?
Austin Stories. Every week, a different story. Premieres Wednesday at 10:30 after the real.
So there was a TV show on MTV called Austin Stories, which was a douchebag taking money from the street beggars. What? So weird. I didn't even realize Best Buy existed in the 90s. I don't remember that. I think of Best Buy as a 2000s era thing. But I guess it was a 90s thing too, wasn't it?
Just happen to have myself one ticket. Do you have any idea who I am?
You're the Best Buy idea box.
I'll get you backstage passes, everything. So you come here often?
What?
Watch out for the Fury. Like this. Get ready.
Whatever.
You know? Best Buy. You guys think I'm really cool, dude?
Invited us for a weekend in Paris. How can I forget? We should have gone.
Coulda, woulda, shoulda.
Yep.
Johnston, better do the good stuff now.
So here's another ad. So the elderly guys are reflecting on the fact that they didn't go to the party or the rave because they didn't just do it now. Drink this nasty failed cola now. Do it now. Just do it. Do it now. Interesting. All the ads are basically just instant gratification, right?
An evil empire is sucking the life force from the planet, destroying all that's in its path. It's up to one soldier of fortune.
Final Fantasy 7.
If he succeeds, you survive. If he fails, you can always hit the reset button. Final Fantasy 7.
I do remember that. That's definitely memorable from 1997. Let's skip the local commercials here.
With 3 cops who had nothing in common.
Ooh, here's interesting. So here's a trailer for LA Confidential. That's interesting. And it's the raspy 90s trailer guy, right? Every decade has a dude, right? It's the raspy 90s guy. They were 3 cops.
The Night Owl Massacre. This crime that requires swift resolution. 6 victims. One of them, one of our own.
Academy Award winner Kevin Spacey.
Academy Award winner. By the way, we will be covering, Jamie and I, coming up this week, something new as well that I don't know why we haven't done this before. And a lot of people apparently don't know what this is, or you guys need to be familiar with some of these noir classics. And Jamie and I are going to be doing a noir classic. If you head over to the live tab, I decided, okay, yeah, I'll go ahead and tell you what movies we're going to be doing. Dark occult noir we're going to do so that you can watch them if you want to. Character study of James Cagney in White Heat. I thought he was an amazing bad guy, way ahead of his time in terms of chaotic evil. So we chose old movies from the 40s and 50s and one from 1960 that have chaotic evil because you don't usually find this kind of evil. So we're going to do Cagney in White Heat. We're going to do Edward G. Robinson in Seawolf. We'll do Sunset Boulevard, even though Norma Desmond's not chaotic evil. And we'll do Norman Bates in Psycho. So look for that. Be sure and join us. If you've not watched these classics, they're pretty good. They're pretty excellent. Especially Seawolf. Seawolf was way better than I expected it to be. So we'll have some excellent Joker archetype chaotic evil breakdowns. Before, you could never have the Joker without James Cagney in White Heat. It's pretty wild. And for a film that early to have such a bizarre evil character is also pretty interesting. But in this is in the vein of noir, right? Before there was neo-noir of LA Confidential, there was noir proper, like Edward G. Robinson, White Heat, etc. Anyway, guys, I want to remind you too, if you would, head on over to the sponsor, chalk.com, get a hold of the best in supplementation. Our show sponsor is chalk.com. My favorite is, of course, the Tomcat Ali. To boost testosterone, 100% proven to do so. Peer-reviewed studies. And I can tell you from my own experience, it will definitely do so. Great product. They also have the Action 2.0. Great for boosting your energy levels. If you're a gym bro or a new gym bro. 7 Wonders makes up for our mineral deficiency that we have via the Western garbage diet. You notice all this garbage they pushed in all these commercials? It's pretty crazy. But 7 Wonders will make up for that. And when you go over there, use the promo code J50, that's JAY50, JAY50 to get 50% off all these products. I'm going to push to you the toxic masculinity inducing products, right? MTV is pushing all this soy stuff, all this pure garbage. Freedom of speech. Uh-oh, look at this.
October 15th, right where it belongs, on music television.
Look what they're pushing at this time. And it's wild. Freedom of religion, freedom of speech. So Enlightenment liberalism, freedom of the press, freedom of music. Imagine if you were to say these specific things right now, you are a bigot, fascist, right-winger. If you were to literally cite the classical liberal platitudes of 1997 MTV. Pretty wild. So if you don't think there's a culture steering, culture control mechanism, then please explain that to me. How can 1997's counterculture ideas be bigoted fascism today? Please explain that to me. If this is not Tavistock culture creation to sell you a bunch of garbage, and not just garbage consumer products, but to sell you on garbage ideas. And this is actually Sony Walkman pushing MTV freedom of speech stuff. That's pretty wild. More sports, football. Here's Pepsi. Yeah, right. So Nikki Taylor, Cindy Crawford. I guarantee you they're not drinking Pepsi. So, Generation Next. Oh, so you see, Pepsi was marketing to the Gen X. Interesting, right? And the marketing was Generation Next. So, when you have kids, right, they're going to be drinking Pepsis. Like, yeah. So, here's the... so, the nurses of 1997 are... That's not Nikki Taylor. That's what's her face. Cindy Crawford and I just went blank. Tyra Banks. Drinking Pepsi. Sure. And then what? Another debt collector thing? Another... Chris Rock is trying to sell me what? What is this?
Now 1-800 up to 44%.
1-800 collect for collect phone calls? That's weird. Garbage food, mini wheats. Do you want to go to art school, become an art ho? You can do so. Generation Next. These Pepsi ones are really trippy, dude. It's like straight mind control from the Pepsi commercials. Let's see. Well, it's interesting. So, back in 1997, not everyone was significantly overweight. That's interesting too, isn't it? But nowadays, almost everyone is significantly overweight, right? So, I wonder who's behind this. Maybe Pepsi has a role in this degeneration of the culture. So the cows, look how much propaganda, right, is being pushed to the Gen X. Anyway, guys, if you would also remember that the show sponsor is not just chalk.com, but you can also head on over to Rockfin and subscribe to Richard Grove, our other show sponsor. Shout out to Scott Mannion as well. Subscribe to Scott on YouTube. But Richard Grove has the best breakdowns when it comes to geopolitics, to what's really going on. 7-hour podcasts every week. And if you head on over to Rockfin right now, you can subscribe to Richard on Rockfin, as well as to myself, Jason Burmis, and many others. Rockfin is an amazing free speech based platform. Imagine, right? We're basically 1997 MTV. Free speech is bigot talk. Well, we maintain our 1997 classical MTV values of classical liberalism over on Rockfin. Head on over to Rockfin right now. Subscribe to Richard. If you would, hit like and share on this as well. Hopefully you enjoyed this step back into the 90s nostalgia. Now you have an idea of what it was like from the ridiculous, over-the-top mind control in the commercials. P. Diddy. What's P. Diddy doing? What are you doing over there, Puff? You mumbling. Mumble rap. I can't understand. What are you talking about? Vibing.
When I started becoming interested in music, like Rooftop was a skate rink that would turn into a nightclub at like 3 in the morning. People would just dance.
Oh, this is the Austin Stories show. Never heard of this. Don't remember any show called Austin Stories. Pretty wild though. What does P. Diddy have to do with that? No, that's just MTV. Okay.
It's amazing you find girls who believe you live here. Makes a good impression. And they don't mind when I take them on a cheap date. Think I'm being cool and hip instead of lame and broke.
Austin Stories. Every week, a different story. Premieres Wednesday, 10:30.
Such a weird thing. I don't remember any of that. Storm the Cat says for $5. I watched a horror movie. I don't remember the name of it, but they had an interesting theme of power symbols, and that they convey the meaning of the relationship between advertising and images and symbols in the occult. Well, that would be definitely appropriate to what we're talking about tonight. So thank you for that, Storm the Cat. Lowell K, thanks, by 69, $5. Keep up the good work. I got married in the Orthodox Church. That's great to hear. That was from yesterday. Storm the Cat, do you like Aphex Twin? No, not really. But anyway, I hope you guys had fun. If you would, hit like and share. You can also support the show by getting the books and the products in the show shop. I'm getting tired. In the website shop at my website, jasonelsis.com. For example, you can go purchase great books like my meta-narratives, Introduction to Philosophy of Symbolism, many essays in there. And then, of course, you can get my full-on 660-page book, Essays on Theology and Philosophy, over at the website as well. Signed copies there.